Like do a little jiggy. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining me. And it's nice to meet you.
You too. I love this. Making new mom friends over here.
Yeah, I've been kind of stuck by myself. We just moved right when we had the baby, so I kind of left all my like friends behind. And
Yeah.
you can interact over like social media. It's so much harder when you're a mom because just like I don't like having my phone out with the baby, and then like sometimes you start sending a text and then like the baby's going somewhere, so you like drop it, forget it for 4 days, and so like I feel like I lost touch with so many friends, and so
Yeah.
I felt like I was just by myself. And so this is my way of like getting to know some people, getting to know some moms and seeing what it's all about.
I
Seeing
know.
the whole
I
mom
feel
group.
the same way. So I'm originally from Cleveland, and that's where I'm living right now in the Cleveland area. But I lived in Virginia for 7.5, almost 8 years. So when I moved back here, it was like I didn't have any friends left here. So I'm
Mm,
like having to all my friends are like in Virginia or Maryland or DC, and I'm like making new friends all over again. It's so weird. I have like one friend from high school who moved back here as well. So that's
mm.
awesome. But yeah.
It's hard starting over when you're older.
Yeah, it is.
You
So,
like aren't going to school because that's where at least I made all my friends, or like
yeah,
college, or if you move, then you make roommates and then you kind of move together, whatever, or work. And then if you move, you're just like, I
yeah,
don't. I guess you go meet at a bar, but that's more for like dating, and then everyone's kind of drunk. So you're just like, I don't know. You meet girls in the bathroom, everyone's drunk. You're like, I won't see you again, but we had a really good convo. I don't
right.
know.
Especially like at the time, well, it sounds like you moved at like almost the same time as I did, but the whole pandemic stuff, like I was like, when my daughter was born, I was like, oh, I'm getting in all these mom groups. I'm gonna be so involved. And like, finally, we're starting to do that stuff. But for the longest time, I was just like, okay, well, so much for meeting other moms, you know?
I was literally in the same boat. I don't know if you heard about the app called Peanut, where it's like
Yeah.
moms, and then so I joined that, and I kind of got overwhelmed because the moms in there are so involved. And I was getting all these notifications and all this stuff that I got
Right.
scared. I was like, "Ugh." But I wanted to get involved and I wanted to start talking to moms, but I I don't know. I guess you just get busy with your life,
Yeah. And you
and
have to find your own niche, like who you click with. Like,
yeah, there's so many different ways to parent,
mhm.
to mom, and everyone has such a different opinion and sometimes such a strong opinion about it that like
Yeah.
it's a lot. Sometimes it's just a little overwhelming.
Nowadays, you just have to be really, really careful, like, what you say and who you say it
Right?
to. So it's like always
Right?
trying not to offend someone or say the wrong thing or it's
People are really, and I think the pandemic is to blame because we all kind of got
mhm.
locked up, pent in. And so no one's getting out, no one's getting to talking, everyone's kind of restricted. And so it's a lot easier to get offended when
Yeah.
your anxiety's up here, when you just haven't seen anybody and you haven't really taken anything out of your system. And so, I mean, people are mad. People are just mad. For a while, I completely just shut off like
Yeah.
social media or any like anywhere that could express any political view. It was just so
Mhm.
overwhelming. And whether I agreed or disagreed with it, seeing it and the hate that like people throw at it was just consuming. And I was like, I like,
Yeah.
y'all do you. I got a baby to take care
I
of.
know,
Like,
it's a lot. I'm like, "What happened to just, like" and I even find myself sometimes, like, getting wrapped up in stuff, and I'm like then people respond to you, and I'm like, "Okay, wait, let's bring it back." Like, I'm here to, like, show pics of my husband and myself and my daughter and, like, what we're doing, so let's just bring it back to, like, sharing that kind of stuff, you know?
100%. And that's how not like how it started, especially with like Facebook and Instagram. It was supposed to
Yep.
be just like
You're connecting with
sharing
people.
memories.
Yep.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it really changed. And I found that people who knew me were kind of attacking me. Like they forgot who I was as a person and they just see these words written down or whatever I may have said. And they completely forget that like I'm a human being and just kind of,
Yeah.
they're just going at it, saying things. And I'm like, yo, hold up. Like I'm a human. Wait a minute. I'm the same person. And then they're like, oh yeah, sorry. I just get so wrapped up and so angry and this and this. I'm like, I'm not even writing you. Like you
Yeah.
do you. And I get some people get really upset one way or the other. And I just, let's start humanizing things again. Like I know we're behind the computer, we're behind the keyboard, but like we've all got those struggles. We're all going through things. Like, let's just
Mhm.
calm down a bit. Let's talk about the happy stuff. It,
Totally.
I maybe it's because I'm older, and so now the like political stuff is just more present, or maybe I'm paying more attention. But I feel like
Yeah.
5 years ago, 10 years ago, that wasn't even like brought up. People were just kind of living their own lives. Where now it's just
I know, it's gotten to be so much, and, like I said, like, I even get wrapped up in it, and then I'm like, "Okay, let's bring it back, like, anyone wanna see more pics of my kid?" You know?
yeah.
Anyways,
I've got 100 of them. Do you guys
but I'm
want to
like
see all of them? Because
I
I got him.
I feel like I've gotten so much better, like, over the last year, though, at, like, not saying anything and just, like, sharing life stuff other than my
That's
opinions.
awesome.
I'm like, "Nobody cares about my opinions, like, why do I bother?" So
You know what? That's kind of true. Not that like people don't care about your opinion. I just think when I've expressed my opinion, I don't know if people care. It's just they're looking to respond with their
yeah.
own. So they're just looking for an opening to jump in and be like, well, what I think is. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
I
I'm
don't
like,
know. I feel like
"Okay."
you didn't even listen to me. You were just going on about your thing, which is cool too. But like, why even bother with it if it's
I
not
know.
benefiting anybody?
Well, when used the right way, social media can be good. Like this. I mean, this is so
Yeah.
fun. I love it.
I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to meet new moms. I'm excited to like hear new stories. I'm excited that I'm meeting new people. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know you, well, until we just logged in really.
Yeah.
But until a few days ago when you joined the group and we started kind of chatting. Also, I
Mhm.
saw, is your baby swimming?
Yeah, so we've been doing swim lessons since March, and it was like the
Oh,
swim lessons where I, went in the pool with her, and it was like fun playtime for 30 minutes, and I liked it, but I felt like she wasn't really, like, necessarily learning how to survive in the pool, like, she was just jumping in and thought it was fun time, and when we were on vacation this summer, my husband and I were in the pool with her, and he ran to get, like, one of her balls that went out of the pool, and I turned my head for a second, and she just jumped in, and, like, by herself, and I heard this splash, and she was already all the way under, and I was like, "Oh my god." So after that, I was like, "I'm finding survival swim lessons, like, I'm so freaked out." It's those things that everyone
yeah.
talks about. It only takes 1 second. So, it just
Man.
scared me, and so we started these survival swim lessons maybe, like, gosh, what's November? It's maybe, like, October, beginning of October, and she's already floating by herself for 20 seconds on her back, and
Wow.
we, like, throw them in there, and she has to learn how to, like, swim to the ledge and swim to it's amazing. I'm
Y-
so glad we're doing it.
Your baby knows how to swim better than I do already.
Thank
So
Me too.
that's amazing. Honestly, that's just terrifying, especially when it
Yeah,
comes to water, because you can't, then they're slippery, then they're going, and it's so fast, and they're so
yeah,
tiny, and there's a whole thing. Like, it's terrifying.
it is, and I'm so glad that we started and switched over to these swim lessons. I mean, I think the other kind of lessons, it's just 2 totally different approaches, and I think the other kind of lessons are really fun to get your baby, like, used to the water and kinda that kind of stuff, but now I'm serious. I'm like, "I'm sticking with this."
Yeah. Were
So,
the other ones more like to get them familiar that like
yeah,
water is more like sensory play almost? Like
I
you can
think
jump in and
so.
it's fun. Okay.
Like, getting them, like, pour the water over their head, and these people kinda just it's a 10-minute lesson because it's actually a workout for them. So, it's like an aerobic workout for them,
It's
and
an aerobic workout for me.
yeah,
So I don't blame the babies for getting tired. I mean,
I know.
that's
Seriously, she can swim better than me. I stink at swimming, so that's another reason I was like, she
I
needs
wish somebody would have thrown me in when I was well, I think my brothers
Can I
tried to
hold
throw me
myself
in.
please?
Yeah. Where was the what, but we're learning from what we don't know, and now we're like, "Hey, I really want my baby to swim."
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about how to teach her and go through that. So I'll have to find somebody who can do the
Yeah.
lessons for
These
us.
instructors are great. Like, I'm sure you guys have something similar, near you, and these instructors, it's their full-time job. Like, they don't do anything else all day but teach kids how to swim and how to survive in the water. So they go from, like, different pool to pool, and they've been doing it for years. So,
It's so good to know because if it's someone's like hobby and they're
yeah.
not fully taking it seriously, I think I would be concerned because it's your baby's life that's on the line
Exactly.
here, and you want to be sure. How
Yeah.
old is your baby?
She just turned 2 at the end of October, so
Oh, happy
toddler.
birthday. Yeah.
I still call her baby.
Is this your First baby?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. And how was your pregnancy?
It was good. It was pretty easy. Honestly, like I I felt fine. I felt really good the whole time up until the last trimester when I had heartburn so bad. It
Oh,
was terrible. Like I would wake up out of sound sleep in the middle of the night after not eating for hours and like have heartburn. So that
it
was
gets
bad.
you.
But
Yeah.
everything else went pretty smoothly. I mean,
I was talking to a girl yesterday, and now I'm interested to find out because she said when she had her baby girl, she had a really smooth pregnancy.
yeah.
And then when she was pregnant with her boy, that's when she's having a lot of problems. And so she's like, I don't know
Oh,
if it's gender related. I was like, I don't know. But when I was pregnant with my baby girl, it was really smooth.
yeah.
I'm sure there's
Although
nothing to it, but so
I
far there's
yeah.
been,
I've heard so many, like, different, like, what are they? Old wives' tales or
yeah,
whatever? I was gonna say midwives. Um,
they
but I've
should be
heard so
midwives.
many different ones, like, with girls, like, your skin breaks out really bad, and mine was fine the whole time, so I have no idea, but the thing that was true is, my daughter had a lot of hair when she was born, and I heard that if you get heartburn really bad, your baby is gonna have a lot of hair, so I believe that one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We kind of had a good amount of hair. She also had this bald spot, like she looked like an old man, a very cute old man.
Like,
But
right on
she
the
had,
top, like, right
yeah, like she had a little bald spot. If she was
pretty
Jewish,
girl
we'd put a
maniac.
yarmulke on it, and then she'd look really cute. But and then that hair started to outgrow. You know what she had was shoot, what is it called? Cradle cap. Are you
Oh,
familiar?
yeah, Ella had that too.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was at first, and I was like, "What the heck are these scales doing on my baby's head?" And
Oh,
then we found a way to get rid of it really fast,
yeah.
and then her hair started to grow, and now
Yeah,
it's just getting long. I'm like, "Ooh, girl, long hair don't care, huh?"
I know, I love my daughter's hair is growing so much now, and
Yeah.
it's really curly, and I actually have naturally curly hair, but with hers, I just don't know how to tame it. I'm like, "What do I do?"
Have you done a baby's first haircut yet?
No, not yet.
I've seen some moms do
She has
it.
a mullet too, like, really
Yes!
bad, and I'm like, "Don't care." And my aunt, she's a hairstylist and a hairdresser, and she's like, "Little boys can't have mullets, but it's fine for little girls." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not cutting it." So thanks for verifying that.
Yeah, let it grow.
For sure.
Let it grow, let it get fancy. Well, tell me more about your motherhood after, sounds like you had a really good pregnancy, which is really good. How was your
Yeah,
birthing experience? Was it fine, or did you have any
it was
pushback?
it was pretty it wasn't bad. I went into the whole thing, like, saying, "I'm gonna do all natural," like, all that stuff. No epidural, none of it. And, I did end up getting the epidural. I feel like a lot of people go into their first time thinking it's gonna be all natural and you're gonna do all the things, and then yeah, and then you just end up with an epidural. So,
Yep.
it was a good experience though for me. It wasn't anything too terrible. Like, the only thing I didn't like was that it only, like, worked on one side, so I could kinda feel things on one side, and then when I was, like, giving birth, I didn't know when to push or anything because it was so strong that I was like, "Oh my god, what do I do?" And I started freaking out, like, "Am I gonna have a C-section?" But, it all worked out fine, and I don't know. I'm happy it went the way it did, so
Good. When I was doing some reading, it what it seemed like to me is if you do the natural birth, there's less chance of ripping because you
mm,
can feel everything. And so you
yeah,
have a better knowledge of when to actually push
okay.
versus when you do have the epidural, which helps you, tame that pain. But you're kind of going at the doctor's count who aren't you. And
Yeah,
so you're going on their count,
right.
which you're pushing more or less, you're not really
Mhm,
feeling how much you should push. And so that's
that's
why
true.
it's more likely to tear because you can't feel
Yeah.
when and how much to actually do it.
Right,
Um,
that makes sense, and I read, like so I'm just not a reader, and when I was pregnant, I read, like, 9 or 10 books, all relating to, like, birth, and I was so into it, I was listening to birth podcasts, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm like, "I can do it," and then when it got down to it, I was like, "This is way more painful than I ever thought it would be."
okay, me too. Girl, I'm
Everyone's
so
like
there with you.
my mom and stuff was like, "Oh, good luck," and then once I was there and I was like, this is bad. Like, this is way worse than I thought it would be. And it's like, I even tell some of my friends that are pregnant, I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but like, it's way worse than I thought it was going to be.
And everyone has a different pain tolerance, and I encourage everyone to totally try the natural birth if that's what they want to, but
Right.
also on the same page, don't feel bad if you ask for epidural, because I strongly think that your birthing experience should be good. So if you're in pain and
Mhm.
you're hating it, like, it doesn't benefit anybody.
Exactly. I was like, when it came down to it, I was like, I'm not trying to be anyone's hero. Like, I just want this to get done safely and, like, obviously as minimal intervention as possible. But
Of
I
course.
have like the whole birth plan written out, like a big sheet of paper. It just went right out the window.
Okay, so I watched this like YouTube podcast videos where they went over different techniques of like how to breathe out, and like
Yeah.
there's a comb method where if you put a comb in your hand and squeeze it, like if
Huh.
you put pain in your palm, you won't feel as much pain down there. So like relocating your
Right.
pain, all this stuff, and then like mentally, I was really prepped. I was like, you know what? Mothers before me in the prehistoric time have been doing it. Like, I can do it. And I have pretty good
Yes.
pain tolerance. Like, I got this. I got this. And we got like, she was born at 4 p.m., but 4 a.m. the night before, I was already like 6 hours into it or something oh no, I was already 10 hours into it since my water broke. And I was shaking. I had
Oh,
crazy fever. I was
oh
shaking
no.
uncontrollably. And I couldn't handle it. I was like, I can't do this. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do. And then I felt really bad. I felt really guilty.
Oh, that's tough.
And my husband made me feel a lot better. And his mom texting him, and he read the text to me. He's like, hey, my mom says, if you do get the epidural, don't feel bad about it. And like just
Yeah.
hearing him encourage me and her, I was like, okay.
Yeah, there's no reason to, like, ever feel bad about it. I mean, you try your best, and if you just do what feels best for you, and that was the epidural was best for me, and I'm glad I did it. Like, I didn't have, any complications with the birth. Obviously, some of the stuff where I was like, "Oh my gosh." Although, I don't know if this happened for you. You said you did get the epidural?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if this happened for you, but I, like, blacked out after birth, I swear. I don't remember half of the stuff that happened.
Interesting. So another girl I
Was it
talked
because of
to,
the epidural? I don't know.
not yesterday, but the day before, literally said the exact same thing. And she used the term
Yeah,
blackout. And she's like, when it happened, I blacked out and
like,
then
I remember
didn't
her
happen to
being
me.
placed on me, and I remember, like, having her, and then kind of, like, I don't know, that hour or 2 or however long stuff ta I don't know, however long stuff takes, like, was just a
Yeah.
blur. I had to ask my husband
I
about
mean,
stuff.
it's a massive drug. And
Yeah,
then especially if your body's not used to any drugs, and if you
right.
haven't taken any, like this is such a shock for your body. Not only physically, you just gave birth, like you just pushed out an organ that you just created, plus a whole human body,
Yeah,
plus these drugs were injected. I mean, like it's a shock for your body. So I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah.
It didn't happen to me.
That's good, okay. That was the only thing that I
Good.
kind of, like, didn't like about it. I was like, I hardly remember all those,
That's
like, moments afterwards.
but maybe, maybe you do remember more than you think. It just probably went by so fast.
Yeah,
I'm sure I just don't want you to feel like you missed out on anything.
right. Like, I remember her being on me and all that stuff, so that's most important.
Yeah. When my baby was born, we got her out, and then we're starting to place her on me, and then she pooped everywhere. She pooped
Oh,
all over me. She pooped all over top of the nurses, and it
oh
was
my
the
god.
best thing.
That's so
I'm a
funny.
big fan of pooping because I think it's like, if you're clear in your system, like you feel good, it's better for your hair, your skin, your attitude. Like everyone should be pooping all the time. And so when she did it, I was like, that's my daughter. Like that's my daughter pooping on me right now. Let's
That's
go.
amazing. That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean it's a little silly. Did you nurse or did you do formula? How was your feeding?
I did, I nursed. Oh my gosh. That was, like, the one thing that was really, really hard.
Yeah, tell me about
I
it.
I did, like, all the breastfeeding class, and, like, one of my best friends nursed her kids, and my sister nursed her kids, and I just no one tells you what a big learning curve it is, and I so badly wanted to do it, but then I I was kind of like, before I had her, when I was pregnant, I was very much like, I really want to try it. And if it doesn't work, then no big deal. After I had her, it was like, I can't give my baby formula. Like I was freaking out. I couldn't do it. I was like, no, I can't. I was crying nonstop, like in the hospital, those postpartum emotions. I did not expect that. So I did nurse and we actually made it like 16 months. So that
Yay.
was amazing. We never had to supplement, but the first like 6 weeks or gosh, I don't even, a couple months figuring things out was so hard.
They're really difficult, and I'm kind of in the same boat, whereas I feel like I talked to the right people and I felt like I knew what I was going into and what different things I should try in the different positions, and they're like, hold her like a
Yeah.
football, hold her like this, hold her like that, and I was trying everything, and I really struggled the first week.
Yeah.
I mean, it went on for like a month that I really struggled,
Mhm.
but I feel like I wasn't really prepped for it at the hospital because I would like put her on the boob and I was like, I don't know if she's getting anything out. There's kind of liquid coming out. And the doctor was like, oh, as long as it's a drop, they're fine.
Yeah.
And then it's like, as long as it's a drop for the 3 days, they're fine. And so I was like, well, there's a drop here, there's a drop there. And then like fourth day, she was home. And I just knew she wasn't getting enough food because I didn't do it right. And I spoke about this in a previous episode, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but she was hungry and I needed help. So I texted my mother-in-law and asked her to bring formula because I just needed my baby fed. And
Yeah.
then because my boobs had gotten so engorged, she couldn't latch on properly. And I didn't figure that out until way later on.
Well, that's all the stuff that they don't tell you.
They just told me it's like, oh, if it's not this shape, if your nipple's not the lipstick shape, or if it is, then they're not latching on right. And they should have the whole nipple in, not just the thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so big and
You're just like
hard.
destroyed.
Yeah. And so I really struggled. I had a few days where I was just like crying and she needed to eat. And I was like, my boobs hurt. Like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
Something that helped me, and I don't know if this will help anybody else, but since that first jump and we supplemented a couple of days of formula until I figured it out, I started pumping out and then
Yeah.
that flexed my boob to be able to fit in her mouth and her latching on properly. But I went a couple of weeks, I let my nipples heal and we would feed her through the bottle. So she's still getting breastfeed, but I wasn't necessarily
I did that
nursing.
too. Mhm.
And I found that really helpful because like my nipples healed. So then once we started nursing again, everything was fine. My boob got used to it. I got used to the engorgement and it going down. I understood the schedule better. And then through the bottles for those first couple of weeks, I was able to see how much she was actually eating. Because
Yes.
you're always worried, like, are they getting enough? Because you can't see anything. Whereas this, I was like, okay, she had 2 ounces. Okay, she had,
I
4
was
ounces,
constantly
whatever.
worried about that too. Yeah. I found that super helpful just and also a lot of like when you do the breastfeeding classes and you talk to the lactation consultants at the hospital and stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, we don't want to do pacifiers for 3 months. You don't want to do bottles for 3 months." And I'm like, but then you get the kids who literally can't take a bottle and the moms have to go back to work and all that stuff. And I feel like it actually helped doing both right from the beginning because not only did it help my body to heal, but it helped her get used to, bottles and just nursing. So that
Yeah.
was good.
I agree with you. I didn't even know that there was such a thing as like the nipple confusion. If they get the bottle and get used to that, they might not go to the nipple. Like we just
Yeah.
didn't face that at all. Like she got through the bottle, and then when we put her on the boob, she just loved the boob more. Like of course, she's closer.
Right.
And those who had babies after me, I told them I was like, hey, if you need a break, because if you're nursing constantly, the baby's always on you. I'm like, try pumping and asking your partner, ask your husband or your baby daddy, whoever, because not only does it give you a break and your nipples a break so you can heal, but it's
Yeah.
also a great bonding time for them. Like they don't get to feed them, they don't get to be with them. So they can do it once in a while, even. So you can take a nap, so you can shower, so you could poop, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
I I think that's a good thing. Plus,
I'm
I'm
in
always like, if the baby's full and happy, like that's all we need to worry about. But again, I don't want to give advice where it's, then somebody does face
Yeah, I know,
that
it's hard. Like,
feeling.
I experienced the same thing as you, like, we didn't have any problems with the confusion, like, I gave her a passy from day 1, and even her pediatrician, I had, like, asked her about it, and she's very relaxed and very old school, and I just love her, but she was just, like, trust me, they can tell the difference between your boob and a pacifier. There is no such thing as confusion.
That's what
I
I
have
also
never
was
had a problem
thinking.
with it. Never. So,
Yeah.
I mean, not to say it can't happen to other babies, but not with mine, luckily.
The only thing that did make sense to me was something that my mom explained, because out of the boob, they actually have to like suck it out to get
Yeah,
the milk. So it's
versus a bottle.
harder versus the bottle, it just pours in.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
if they're like, oh, I want the milk faster instead of working at it, I can see them choosing one over the other. But I think I would advise that those who are trying to pump it as well as nursing, just do both. Like I was pumping when I wasn't nursing, then I was nursing, then I was pumping. Like it made my supply increase, which I was
Yeah.
worried about. I knew that she was consuming enough. I had help of my husband who was able to feed her when we needed to. And then once I was up, I think we did it for about 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Then we dropped pumping completely and I just went to nursing. My nipples were healed. We figured out the schedule. I had gotten
Yeah,
enough sleep. I had recovered from the postpartum, like just physical injuries down below. And I just found it helpful. Like,
it is. Yeah, it's helpful too. Like in case you need to go somewhere, or if you're not like for me, I'm an introvert and I'm like a very modest person, and I'm not one of those people who will be out in public and just like whip it out. It's just not for me. I don't judge anyone that does, but I was very much like, okay, we're gonna go out for 2 hours. Okay, I'm gonna pump it so we can give her a bottle while we're gone. So I
yes.
feel like that too. That's convenient for reasons like that. Or, oh, like we're gonna run an errand, leave her home with grandma, and she
And
can
then
have a
she's able
bottle.
to
We don't
eat.
have to rush
Yeah.
back, or like I can pump in the car or something like that.
I'm
Just
so
not when
there with
everybody
you.
has to.
Yeah. I see it as like an addition, a helpful addition, because
Yeah.
when you're the only sole food provider, it all falls on you. And you
Yeah.
had just went 9 months of carrying the whole baby. Like, I think it's okay to take a break. Like, of course,
Yeah.
you always want your baby with you and you want to be the providing him or her with food and all that. But I just think if you need, as a mom, if you need that break, if you need that second, that's a great, helpful tool,
Yeah, and it's like it is a full-time job. I mean, it
especially those
is
first weeks. I mean,
around the clock. It's
yeah,
all such a blur, you're just literally trying to survive.
it's hard. And then everyone's like, sleep when the baby sleeps. And
Oh, I couldn't do that.
no one can. I really think it's such a joke. My husband and I do this like joke where it's like, do your taxes when the baby does its taxes. Do your laundry when the baby does the laundry. It's like because we're so used to a schedule, you sleep at night, you're awake during the day. So
Yeah,
you can't just like go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, like it just doesn't. And then also things need to get done. Like you
right,
just need to
that's
continue living your life and keeping up with your household. Like,
Mhm.
and although sometimes I was like, I can't just go to sleep. Yet sometimes I was so tired that I was like,
Like, I have to.
peace out. Like I just need a quick snooze. But the bottle helped because instead of taking like 2-hour naps and then waking up to feed, playing with her and taking another 2-hour naps, if I was able to pump and somebody else could feed her, I could get a 4-hour nap in. And that felt
True,
like gold. You're just like, I am
so true.
rested. I could
Yeah,
take on a month of things now because you just get so neglected of sleep for a while there.
yeah. At some point, your body, like, gets used to it, though.
It's something that we've talked about. This is only my 4th episode, but it's come up, not 4th time. The fact that
Yeah,
moms are so good. And I think as humans, we're so good at adapting.
for
Like when
sure.
there's a change, we adapt to it. And it's such a good thing because, like when something hits you, you figure it out. Yet
Yeah,
sometimes when you're forced, let's talk quickly about the pandemic. We had to stay inside and then people just adapted and they're so used to it that some people forget that like
yeah,
we used to
people
just go
have
outside and do things but we get used to things. So when things
Mhm.
are in front of us, we kind of put blinders on and we just get used to it. But when you get used to bad things, it's like a pimp and their hooker who they just make you do things and you're just like, oh, that's just what I do now. It's like, no, you shouldn't sleep with people for money. Like
Yeah.
he's just trained you that way and you think it's fine because you've adapted. So like
Mhm.
I go so back and forth. I'm such a fence about this whole adaptation of like, oh, you adapt and if you're not getting sleep, you figure it out. If it's this thing, you figure it out. And it's like all good things usually, but then at the same time, you have to be aware of what you're getting used to.
Yeah, that's so true. That's one of the things, like, as a mom that I really had to learn was how to go with the flow, because I'm a planner by nature. Like, I still, if I have plans for tomorrow and you change them on me like the day before, I'm gonna be so annoyed. I am just a planner by nature, but when you have a baby, like, it all just goes out the window, honestly. So for me, that's one of the things, just learning to adapt and like last minute changes. And even just like, okay, yesterday I was at the grocery store with my daughter, and a couple days ago, like earlier this week, we went to a grocery store where they had their own little carts that she could push. So we go to a different grocery store yesterday, and she walks in and she freaks out because there's not a cart for her to push. So all these people are checking out, and like people are, trying to get in the store, pushing their carts, and she is screaming, throwing a fit. And this is the first time like something like this has happened to me. So I was like, oh my God, I'm mortified. And my husband like grabs the cart, and I'm like, I drag her out under my arm, kicking and screaming. And I was like, that's one of the things that you just have to, as a mom, I was mortified, but I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Now I just look back at it. And actually, when I was outside, I was like setting her down, and I'm like, okay, Ella, we're going to go back in the grocery store. I need you to calm down. You can help push the big cart. Trying to explain it to her now. She probably has no idea what I'm talking about, but I was
No.
trying to be very calm, especially because other people were around. And this lady came up to me, this older woman, and she like stopped in her tracks and was like, "You're a great mom." I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna cry."
Oh my gosh, that is literally my wish.
To me, like, I have lost faith in most of humanity, and stuff like that never happens to me. So I was like, "Oh."
Oh, that is literally my wish for every mom out there whenever there's that situation, is that I don't know why it needs to be an older woman, but I need a
Yeah,
grandma to come to you. That shows I just have this like vision
everyone.
idea. Like I
Yeah,
need that grandma to come when it happens to me. I need that grandma to come to me and say, "You're doing a great job. Don't worry. Don't even worry about these other people. Like you're a good," because you start hearing these voices. You're like, "Oh my gosh, these people don't think I can
yeah.
control
Oh,
my child."
everyone
Like,
else is staring at you like, "Oh my gosh, like, I had that kid. I never thought I'd have that kid." Like, but you
and
just go with it. Like, what else are you gonna do? You take them outside and whatever your parenting style might be. But,
yeah,
I was just like, "All right, this is it now." Normally,
it's
I would leave and not go back. I was like,
it's
"Nope, we're going
hard.
back in. Gotta get the groceries."
It's silly. I feel like I'm not sure on your religious point of view, but for me personally, I got really close to God when I found out that I was pregnant and through the pregnancy and birth.
Yeah,
And even now, through this first year, I feel like God has put this child into my life, like just what a complete blessing, but to teach me to go with the flow because
yeah,
I'm like you, am such a planner and my day is ruined if we don't like if we, said that we're going to do turkey for dinner, then I'm planning what I'm going to do the sides, what time I need to set it out. Do I need the pepper? Should I get the thing? Like, and I going through this anxiety thing where I'm just like, I need to be prepped. And then when
yeah.
you're like, well, it's not the turkey. And I'm like, but I picked out like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. But I need to plan. I need to know. And I'm sure it's some sort of, at least for me, like some sort of a trauma thing where I feel like this is I need to be in control. Maybe people have let me down before, so I feel like I need to have control of things.
Yeah.
But now with a baby, I feel like God is teaching me things change.
Yeah. It teaching you to
Things
be more
change.
relaxed though. Like, that's
Yeah.
how I look at it. So my husband is really relaxed, like, go with the flow, doesn't care about anything to the point where I get mad at him because he doesn't have opinions or care about things. Like, I've gotten in fights with him about it. Like, why don't you have opinion? Like, why don't you care about this? Why don't you wanna do this at this time? And he's like,
Yeah.
"Sure, whatever you wanna do." So we're, like, totally opposite in that way, but I feel like, yeah, since having a baby, like, it's made me relax more and just learn to go with the flow. Like, "Oh, you're not gonna nap today? Okay, great. Well, bedtime's gonna be at 8:30 today instead of 7:30 because you've been crying for an hour? Okay, whatever." Like, all those little things that would normally drive me crazy, it's whatever.
I'm waiting to get to that stage right now. She's been going to bed like 3 weeks ago. She was going to bed at 2:30 in the morning, then 1:30. Now we're at 12:30. So we're a little bit earlier, but
Yeah,
I have all her naps planned out and more so like now with a podcast because I schedule it with people. So I'm like at 3 p.m. And then in my head, I'm like, if she wakes up a little later and then, there's like a belly ache or something goes wrong and then it moves a nap, then she wakes up and then what am I going to do? Because then she wakes up late and then I can't do the pot, like,
Maybe
and
you can put it in the middle of the podcast.
yeah. And so I go through the anxiety conversation in my head that like, what if, but
Yeah.
I'm starting to get to a point where once I finish that part, I'm like, it doesn't matter
We'll deal
because
with that.
it's going to happen regardless, whether I stress about it right now or not. She's going to wake up at whatever time she's going to wake up and it's going to go on her schedule. So I
Exactly.
don't need to stress over it, but I'm still taking the step to stress over it.
Yeah, I do
But
it too.
it's hard and
I
it's
did
silly
it for
because
this podcast. So I saw you scheduled it at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. I thought that was 1:30 p.m. my time originally, but it's 3:30 my time. So I was like, oh, 1:30, perfect. She'll be napping. Like I'll have peace and quiet. And then a couple of days ago, I was like, oh my gosh, that's at 3:30. She's gonna be awake. So I told my husband, I'm like, you have to take her. You have to take her to my parents' house so that the house is quiet so I can do the podcast. But I was like, well, what am I gonna do? It's fine.
I try to make this point across for any of my guests or anybody that like listens or ever wants to be a guest, but like, because I'm in the same boat, if
Yeah.
things ever change, like just hit me up. Like if your kid's constipated and you're like, the nap just didn't work because we didn't eat and threw a thing, like we can push it back. Like it's totally fine. Or if your kid has to run around in the back, that's such a part of motherhood. And it's so relatable that not only do I understand, but anybody who was, let's say, having some sort of expectation to watch it or whatever, they would also understand. Like,
Yeah, because
and
we're all in the same boat.
yeah, we're all just trying to figure out like, are they gonna nap? Are they not gonna nap? What's today gonna bring? I don't know.
Yeah. Normally I would freak out like in the past before I had kids. I was definitely the type like, "Oh, my kid's never gonna eat junk food. My kid's only gonna have organic stuff. My kid's gonna have a set schedule." And now it's just like, "You want a cake pop? Like, here you go."
You start just entertaining them and it becomes like they rule the house. I
"Oh, you're
mean,
not napping today? Whatever."
yeah, I think there should be some sort of boundaries that like as long as you and your partner agree to them, not having knives out or whatever it might be.
Oh, yeah.
But the baby should be able to, I don't know, grow up and figure things out on their own and learn on their own.
Totally.
And not that she'd
I
eat
mean,
like cake every day, but
yeah. It's funny because my mom always told me, like, so I have 2 older sisters, and they're very opposite in their parenting, so I got to see them having kids before I had kids, and so I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a little what she does and a little what she does," and I think I am actually, like, an in-between, which is
I
funny
like
because
that.
they're very different, and I get along with both of them really well, so it's funny, but, my mom was always, like, telling me how you run the kids' schedule. Don't let the kids run your schedule. So, like, don't let them stop your life. When you have
Oh,
kids, don't stop doing what you enjoy doing. Don't stop going on vacation because you have a baby now. Don't stop, going out to eat because you have a toddler who doesn't like anything at this restaurant. Like, kids are so easy to adapt. And that's one thing that I remind myself every day. Like, just, you just go with the flow and don't let the kids run your life. You run their life. So
it's such a balance where you want to give them the freedom to, you know, take a nap longer or push it back,
yeah,
whatever the situation might be. And at the same time, you're like, we need to have some sort of
structure.
boundary, some sort of structure. So
Mhm.
you understand that I'm the parent. I'm here to guide you, not to
Exactly.
just be your friend necessarily. Like I want to be a friendly parent, but I'm a parent first. I'm a mom first. Because if I don't teach my baby the the rules of, let's say, society, if you will,
Yeah.
no one will, or someone else will, a
Exactly.
stranger will, and I don't know what they're going to teach her, and I don't want him to.
Exactly.
I don't want to find out.
Yeah. You definitely have to be that person. Like, I feel like in our household, at least, we have a set schedule every day. Like, we have a set nap time every day, we have a set bedtime every day. But if we have company and, we're going out to lunch or something during her nap time and we're just not back in time and it's already 4 o'clock and we miss nap, like, I it just is what it is. Like, and I think that's what my daughter, she's so easy to adapt now. Um, she's just really good at being able to go with the flow already, and she's only 2. Like, she's not gonna melt down completely if she misses a nap or if she doesn't go to bed till an hour later than she usually goes to bed. The world doesn't end. So I feel like that starts with your parenting too.
I think that's super important because perhaps we were so set to a schedule. Like maybe I was so set to a schedule that that's why I'm so strict about being a planner, that I'm not easily adaptable. Whereas I want to make
Yeah.
sure that I don't pass that on to my child. And so I would want to, show her days that are different. So she does learn to adapt easily and doesn't freak out.
Yeah, it's good to have a balance, and honestly, like, just being home with her all the time through the pandemic and stuff, what it helped us and basically forced us to have a schedule, but at the same time, over time, you loosen up on it a little bit, but you can still keep that same schedule. Because I just don't wanna have the kid that, we're at somebody's house enjoying ourselves, and it's getting to be bedtime, but we're not gonna make it home for 30 minutes because they live 30 minutes away, and I don't want her to freak out, so it's been working out pretty well.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's silly. I was gonna say, my husband's similar to yours, where he's so chill.
Yeah.
He's just so chill. He's so easygoing, and he jokes about it, but he's like, I want to spend a day in your brain. I want to know what the heck, like how, because sometimes I'll bombard him with like the actual thoughts that are going through my mind, where I'm like, well, if this and this and this, and it's such a ladder every time. And he's like, just eliminate all of that. Just eliminate all of that. There's the end, whether the situation will happen or not happen. We don't know. Like,
Yeah.
he's so good at adapting and being really like just flowing, just going with it, and it's fine, and it doesn't upset him, and he just deal with it. And
Yeah.
I envy it so much because I know how much stress it puts on me, which in turn, puts it on the whole family. Because if I'm affected, we're really close. He's going to be affected by it. And what I don't want is my baby being affected by it or learning from it or taking it
Yeah.
on in any way. And so I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard to take these steps of like making sure I don't pass any of these, what I see as bad habits or negative habits onto her, any stress onto her. And I
Yeah.
want to work on myself in general. All of this worry and anxiety, when you work it through, you're just like, it literally has no point, like, except for negative emotions. And it's not like it does anything positive.
Yeah, that's so true. And the thing is too with kids, as young as they might be, they pick up on stuff. Like my 2-year-old, she's already picking up on if she sees me stressing about something, literally just my tone of voice, she knows. Earlier today, I was stressing about something and talking to my husband. She goes, "You okay, mom? You okay, mom?" Like 10 times in a row. I'm like, "I'm fine." But she
Yeah.
kept asking me and kept going to give me a kiss. I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay." But she knew, like, she just all of a sudden, by my tone of voice, kept asking if I was okay. I'm like, wow, that's pretty crazy. She's only 2. How does she know?
Yeah.
So it's made me just recently, like now that she's getting older, it's made me really aware of that kind of stuff and just trying to work
Interesting.
on that. Yeah.
I was watching TikTok, so this has no, scientific proof to it. But I came across this video where this guy was explaining that um those who are true empaths, like true beyond empaths,
Yeah.
are often made that way because they were faced with trauma when they were little, to a point where they had to feel a person's mood and emotion because they had to read the room. So let's say the mom and dad were fighting, or if the dad was an alcoholic and would just throw stuff. As a kid, you learn to, without asking, without, you just feel it out. You feel it out where they're at, and
Yeah.
you learn to adapt yourself to please the person who's causing harm in the trauma. And which is so unfortunate, yet empaths are so important in our society. But
Yeah.
those who can truly read people and feel it out, that's kind of the reason for it. And usually you can't lie to an empath, because you can say,
That just
we, they just know, because they look at your repetitive behavior. They can recognize patterns, they figure it out, and they can read it so much better than anyone could think to fool them. And I recognize myself in that, because I do have some trauma from childhood. And what I really wanted to take away from that was like, I need to make sure that if I'm stressed, if I'm feeling bad, if anything is going on internally in my heart or on my mind, I need to clear it. I need to clear it because I want her to be empathetic. I want her to be able to feel things and understand people on a better level, but not through a traumatic experience where she feels like, I don't know if my mom's upset or not, or I don't know if my dad's upset or not. Like, I want to, not that we are in any way like raging out here or anything. I just, because I watched this video, I was like,
You're
I
like,
need
wow.
to make sure, I need to make sure that, if I'm stressed out or something's going on, I need to take a 5. I need to go shower. I need to pray. I need to meditate, whatever it is that you need to do, cook, clean, but you need to release that, because if you don't, because they're so absorbent, they're just going to take that in and think, oh, she was kind of acting this way. Now she's doing this. Maybe that's what she does when she's upset. And they're starting to build that pattern.
Yeah, that's so true. That's really interesting you say that, because that's a really good point.
It just was really like, it's one of those things that like when you hear it, it makes sense.
It makes you think too. You're like,
yeah.
Oh, no. That's what was making me, when my daughter was, you okay? You okay? I'm like, she's picking up on this already. Like, and I have to be careful, like I have to be careful in how I'm expressing myself around her now. And
it's so sweet that she can have that concern, because she loves you so much, but it's also like reminds you that,
I mean, I secretly loved it, but also at the same time, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want her to think I'm upset. I don't want her to know,
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to like, because I feel like they're born and so you're raising them, but in a way you're also like raising yourself, and you start questioning things from your childhood or from things that were taught to you. And although at least when I was growing up, things that were taught to me, I took them as almost law, because things are told to you and you're like, oh, this is the way that it is. This is the way that it is. And it's not like,
it makes you more self-aware.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm reborn. And now I'm learning a new way, not only to communicate to her, but those that I communicate with on a daily basis, even with my husband.
Yeah.
And it's strange. It's really strange, because I've narcissistically, I guess, always thought like, I know what I'm doing. I have this attitude of like, I can figure it out, or I know who I am.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, let me unravel that.
Yeah.
Why did I do that? Why do I think this way? Why did this thought come into my mind?
Well, your whole life, I feel like for me, when I became a mom, my whole life just totally changed. Like, everything changed. My priorities changed, just everything. So that makes sense that you would be digging deeper or just thinking about those things, like becoming more self-aware.
Has there been anything in your life that you've noticed? I mean, you said you changed 100%. Is there anything that you're like, I'm so thankful that now through motherhood, this has been added to my life, besides like the kids and being a mom? Is there like a personality trait or a character trait that you either miss or that's been added and you're like, I'm so thankful that I have changed in this way?
Patience.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I am not a patient person. Never have been. I don't know if I ever will be, but I've definitely gotten better. So in every single day, my patience is tested, especially with a toddler now. Like, she's running around, walking and talking and touching things she's not supposed to touch. And I just bought one of those toddler tower things for the kitchen.
Wait, what are where they stand on it? They can.
Yeah, don't buy one.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, this will be great. All the influencers online are like, oh, this is so great. It's so inclusive. And I bought her one, and now she's like standing on it, yelling at me that she wants cake because she can see it on the counter. And I'm like, she's going to learn how to turn on the oven. This is the last thing I need.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, this is testing my patience. But she loves it. Like, she's obsessed with the thing. She's so proud. She's like, it's her big girl thing. She can get up there. She wants to like eat food on the counter now, which also drives me crazy.
She wants to be part of the group. She's like, I'm like my mom and dad, and they just want to be a part of it.
I think that's really sweet. Put this thing in the basement. I don't care what we spent on it. Like, get rid of it. And my husband's like, but she's so proud and she loves it so much, and it makes me. And I'm like, okay. So like learning patience.
It's hard. I feel like that's a great example of parenting, where you're like, I want this for my child because she makes her really happy and she's learning independence and she's learning how to be to be with us. Yet
Right.
I have to consider, is it dangerous? Is she going to turn on the oven? Is she going to reach a knife because I wasn't thinking and was cutting vegetables and left it on the counter and now she can reach it? Like all these ideas kind of go through. And so you're like, I want her to learn. So I want her to be able to see things and see what happens. And then at the same time, you're like, I just want to protect you. So if I put it away, I don't have to worry.
Does it matter if I hate it? No, because if she loves it, like I'm not going to take it away, So.
Yeah. But then I guess for me, I'm just like, is it dangerous?
Yeah.
But then everything is dangerous. You have to let him live and explore and learn the consequences.
Things you have to supervise them on. The other day she wore socks on it and we learned the hard way. She was like trying to come down from it and it has like a back on it.
Yeah.
So they can't really fall backwards, but she ducked under, to get out. And when she ducked under, like her foot slipped on the step and she just like tumbled backwards and did a little somersault. And she was totally fine, like totally fine after 2 seconds. But I was like, oh, this has to be supervised, and don't wear socks on it and don't, use it when it's not up against something just in case it topples over. So
I'm that way right now, just even with her like little kitty toys, like the little walkers, she's starting to climb. And so she fell once. And then if it's now on the hardwood floor, I'm like, don't wear socks. But if we're on the carpet, it's fine. But if it's against the wall, it won't slide. But if it's not, she's going to slide and eat it. Like, all these things go through.
How old is she again?
She's going to be 1 in 3 weeks.
So she's starting to walk
She's starting to walk and she's, so adventurous and just wants to see everything.
Getting into things now.
Yep.
It only gets worse.
Yep. That's what I keep hearing. So
it's fun.
I've just learned so much about her, about myself.
Yeah.
Through this whole thing. It's kind of wild. It's a wild ride.
1 is fun because they're not getting into too much. They're starting to explore and like become their own little person. They get such a personality. So I feel like I can't believe my daughter's 2. Like time flies. I feel like it was just her first birthday and now she's huge. She's like an adult.
It's silly how fast they grow. My mother-in-law was telling me, my husband's cousins, nephews, nieces. I'm not quite sure on the relationship actually, but I met them when they were tiny kids. Like I met them in Vegas and I still have them pictured as little kids. Right. And yesterday she was like, no, she just started her period and has boobs. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's a tiny little girl, like no chance. But now she's like a full adult. And I'm like, when did that happen? And that's not even my own kid, like when it's your own, you're just like, you were a potato yesterday. You didn't know how to move. And now you're out the door. When did that happen?
That's crazy. Yeah. My oldest nephew is 7 now. And I'm like, this is crazy. He was just born, I swear. And now we have a bunch of little kids running around. So
that's wild. I was going to ask you said you had 2 sisters and you're kind of looking at their parenting.
Yeah.
And what actually made me think of really quick? I think because I don't have sisters, I think this podcast is kind of for me to like learn from other moms to kind of see their parenting style and see, what you liked, what you didn't like. And sounds like you're doing a mixture of both. And I'm excited to learn things, but I'm also, sometimes I step back and I'm like, what if I don't like how the person's doing it? And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter because everyone's doing something different and I can learn to choose. Yeah, just take something from it. Oh, I was going to ask, I know your baby's not in school yet, but have you considered if you're going to public school? Are you doing homeschooling? What's your...
I think so. I think we'll send her we have a private school like at the end of our street.
Oh, wow.
So I think we'll do that. And I actually went to this school as a kid. So for like 4th to 8th grade. So honestly, because it's just so convenient, that's most of the reason we'll send her.
Heck yeah. Oh, that's so special though that you went there. Is there any teacher that's still there that was there when you...
There's a few. Yeah, actually. And they were younger when I was there, but I think there's a couple that are still there. I mean, I haven't been in that school in forever, but they have like a preschool, like learning loft type thing. And so I don't know that we'll do preschool, maybe just right to kindergarten. So we'll see. But yeah, it's super convenient. I mean, we could walk there. It's so close. So
that's so nice. Great.
Yeah.
And it's nice and safe for her because once she's ready to do it on her own.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about like buses or...
I went to private schools my whole life, so I'm kind of just like, that's what I know. I don't know any different, and that's what makes me feel comfortable. My husband was the opposite. He went to public schools his whole life. So but he's like I said, go with the flow. He's like, sounds good to me, whatever, that's convenient, you know. Like he doesn't care about any of that stuff. As long as it's a good school, he's down for that. So
That's awesome. On a personal note, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but just wondering as far as like your personal like marriage relationship, has there been any changes now with the baby? Well, for you, a 2-year-old,
yeah.
changes that you like or don't like that have happened with the baby that are concerned, like are surrounding your marriage and that relationship?
Um, that's a tough one. Not really. I think we're such good friends. Like we do everything together. And not to sound like we have separate lives as well. You know, he has friends that he hangs out with. I have friends that I go do stuff with. But we're such best friends that I feel like nothing has really changed that much. Obviously in the beginning it was really hard, but yeah.
Was it hard in the beginning because the time consumption that the baby took, or was there just miscommunication due to like responsibilities? What would you say was the hurdle at the beginning?
So just figuring it out as parents. So I didn't talk about this earlier, and this is like probably a bomb to drop at however many minutes we're into this podcast. But when I was 37 weeks pregnant, we found out my husband had testicular cancer. So this was like our first kid, and it just came out of nowhere. And so when I had her, it was just like a whirlwind. The first 3 months, he had like 2 major surgeries, and we didn't know what was coming after that and all that kind of stuff. So it was really crazy. We were just literally trying to survive and figure it out as parents at the same time was so overwhelming. But his parents came and stayed with us. They live out from out of town. They came and stayed with us, and that was so helpful and all that stuff. But I feel like that brought us really close together because we realized like so early on, immediately, you know, you have a baby and you think, oh, we're gonna have more, we're gonna have more. Like this is just our first one, and you get the hang of things, and it was like, oh my god, this could be our only child. And we still like every day that we just don't know if we can have other kids. So she's like the biggest blessing ever for us.
Wow. That's so much pressure to put on
Yeah.
both of you. Like that's, and I just literally can't imagine like how he would feel and going through all of it and knowing that you're, going through labor and you're going through your own stress and anxiety. He wants to be there for you and doesn't want you to, I'm sure, to worry about him, but like, how can you not worry about your best friend?
Right.
Then the baby comes and the time's consumption, then the doctor visits. I mean, it just.
Yeah. I think for both of us, like that's how we learn to just be adaptable and be easygoing early on, because there were so many appointments, and like I had to leave my daughter when she was 6 days old because I didn't want to miss an appointment with her. So like I had my mom watching her while I was down at the hospital, and then I didn't know that like you had to pump every 2 hours and ended up with mastitis, and it was just like all this stuff. I feel like it brought us so much closer together though, as parents. So I feel like that was just, that was crazy.
How is your husband now? Did everything get cleared or?
Yeah, he ended up like after his second surgery, he was fine. Like clear margins. He did not end up needing chemo or any of that, which was a huge blessing too, because I just couldn't imagine. Like, I don't know all the rules with that, but I think like with newborn babies, if you have chemo, you're not really supposed to hold them and all this stuff. But it was crazy because I feel like my maternity leave, I just like kind of got robbed of my maternity leave. And it sounds so sad, but it was 3 months. Like he was diagnosed 3 weeks before I had her. He had surgery 6 days before I went into labor.
Wow.
And like he couldn't even stay at the hospital overnight with us because it was just too tough on his body. So
you're so strong.
3 months of just a whirlwind, and then it just ended, and he's been good since. So
that's so wonderful to hear. But that's a lot to throw on one person. I mean, of course you have your support system, but that's a lot for you to handle, because now not only are you taking care of another human, you have to take care of yourself, and of course you want to be there for your best friend and support them. And that's a lot to carry on your shoulders. It's really heavy.
It was crazy. I'm glad though that like we were able to get everything done very quickly
Yeah.
and that it didn't drag on longer and that he luckily didn't need chemo or anything else like that. So, I mean, honestly, it was like the best possible outcome.
Oh,
So,
that's so good to
yeah.
hear. I wanted to ask you just really quick through your motherhood. So you're at 2 years.
Mhm.
What was the best advice that you have received that you'd like to pass on, or
Mhm.
something that you learned yourself that you're like, you know what? I wish all moms knew this. Is there like one specific thing that really, or two?
I feel like we talked about this a lot, but honestly, it's just going with the flow. Like that's my main thing, I think. I've received so many tidbits of advice about more specific things like nap times and getting them on schedules and feeding and like baby-led weaning and all of that stuff. I feel like all the advice I've received is very specific. So
Yeah.
I feel like just learning to go with the flow will change your life, especially if you're a scheduled person, very regimented like myself, because it's changed me as a person, honestly. So,
Do you like yourself more now that you've added this like easygoing characteristic to yourself, or do you miss that like type A personality who you were really specific and concrete before? Do you ever think and compare
um,
those?
I think I like myself better now because
Yeah.
I think it's better for other people that I'm not as regimented as I was. You know, like normally if someone would change plans on me last minute, I would get so mad and I would hold on to that. Or like if something didn't go my way, I would just get really frustrated. And now I'm just like, okay, like I'll hold on to it for a minute and then let it go because there's nothing you can do about it to change it. And
Well,
like my kid throwing a tantrum in the grocery store, like, what am I gonna do? Like
I'm
I'm not gonna leave and not go grocery shopping and all that. Like it's just let it go and you just roll with it.
I love that. Girl, I'm gonna end the podcast because I'm gonna go see my baby. But
Um,
thank you so much for joining me
Thank
and
you
talking
for
to
this
me.
was so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. If you ever want to chat again, I'm totally open. We'll
Sounds
have to
good.
schedule it and we'll stick to it. But if it changes, we'll adapt.
Or you could just text me, that works too.
Okay, fair, fair. All right. Well,
Alright,
thank you for joining me.
thanks for having me. Bye.
Of course. Bye. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time.